Hi y'all, this is Leah.
Hi, this is Deb.
We pulled together a couple of stories from across our team, from junior folks, from senior folks, about what they learned and how they did innovative mixed methods work over the course of this project. And I think now is a really nice time to take a step back and reflect on it, because at the beginning of this project, we struggled sometimes to integrate qualitative and quantitative data. And I feel now we're our stride. Every conversation that we have, there's folks from the qualitative and quantitative teams bringing what they to bear around research questions, around data challenges, around anything that we discuss at this point.
This recording is divided into two segments. In our first segment of ESCALATES Stories About Mixed Methods, Miguel tells about his first time, which happened while working on the EHR Challenges paper. Stefan talks about how qualitative data enhanced cost survey data collection. Bijal shares experiences analyzing intervention touch data. Rachel tells us about her work on the ABCS trajectories, and Shannon describes how she and the qualitative team use quantitative data to inform the development of qualitative interview guides.
I had always heard of the question, how can qualitative data inform quantitative data and vice versa? And I had never really seen it until that day. So with collaboration with the qualitative team, we identified a meaningful outcome for this particular research question and also important covariates to consider. The qualitative data was informing what went into the quantitative regression model. So for me, this was a new way of thinking about variable selection.
We had a number of meetings between some quantitative team members, qualitative team members. We walked through line by line of the received cost surveys. And for each line, we looked at the expenses and said, does this sound reasonable? Is this about right, or does it seem to be too low, too high? And at the end of this mixed methods analysis, we have a cost survey and cost information that is more accurate than we would otherwise have.
The quant team recently characterized the changes practices made with the external support they received from cooperatives. The team was able to take data logged by facilitators and describe the number of changes that practices attempted and the extent to which they successfully implemented those changes. The qual data then brought a lot of rich understanding about how those changes were implemented on the ground, and also provided insights about the challenges practices faced while trying to implement them.
We attempted to categorize trajectories for practices in terms of their performance on the aspirin, blood pressure, and smoking measures. And the qualitative team informed the context for what these groupings meant.
Working on the practice site visit interview guides, we really go through the quantitative data, both ABCS, adaptive reserve, CPCQ, intervention tracking, and really use that data to inform our interview questions, our probes, get a good understanding before we go into a practice or before we start an interview about what they did.
Hi, I'm Andrea. In the second segment, we're going to hear from Ben, who highlights the back and forth we have between the qual and quant teams. Ricky discusses how collaboration informed practice sampling. Jennifer and Steele talk about how data are brought analytically, and we close with reflection on mixed methods from Leif.
Throughout our qualitative analysis, we are constantly referring to quantitative data profiles that include things about the practice demographics, quarterly ABCS measures, adaptive reserve, and CPCQ. Whenever we get confused or the quantitative data are not consistent with the data we're seeing in the qualitative data, we ask someone from the quantitative team for clarification. There are regular feedback loops between the qualitative and quantitative data throughout the project.
Our teams work closely to create a quantitative data set that can be used to identify practices for qualitative sampling. And what was really cool to me was to see how the qualitative team was able to take this huge spreadsheet full of purely quantitative data and use it to narrow in on practices that would be a good fit for our team to interview or site visit. And I feel like now, as the qualitative team is sharing findings from those interviews and visits, our quantitative team is really looking to them to help explain what we're seeing in the data.
One of the coolest parts of doing this analysis is looking at how the quantitative data helps us understand what is going on in the practice and vice versa. So it's very cool that in these meetings we're triangulating all of these data sources to help us build an understanding of who the practice is and what the challenges are facilitators to the work they faced when working in their particular intervention.
My work has revolved around developing a data exploration tool for adaptive reserve. I've primarily used quantitative data to develop the tool to allow the ESCALATES team to explore every facet of data.
I have used separate quantitative and qualitative methods in many research projects over my long career, but now I am learning much more about how valuable it can be to combine both kinds of data in a back and forth way. In this project, we made the first baby steps in mixed methods in the first 2 years, but now we rarely face important analytic questions without taking advantage of both types of data. This is certainly more interesting and definitely gives us better answers.